Oh, okay. Are we rolling? Are we? Oh my God, okay. Right. Today we're at Christchurch to have a look at fitting every kind of comms unit that we stock here at Infinity on every kind of helmet. So let's get straight into it. So if you could introduce yourself to everyone that is watching, what you do here and what you're basically going to be doing today.
No worries. My name is Nathan Dallimore. I am the manager here at Infinity Christchurch. We are obviously going to go through a plethora of different helmets and comm systems we can fit up. I've been doing it for a fair few years now, so I picked up some tips and tricks along the way, making it easier for people just to make sure that they can fit them with ease and not have any struggles when they're looking at it and not getting scared and daunted by doing it and feeling like you can break it. So that's what we're going to do.
Yes. Making it easy for everyone. Right, is there a certain bike that you ride at the moment?
I have just sold the bikes that I had. So I did have a GSXR 750 that I tracked and did that for a fair few years, but I've just freed up cash because I've got a little one. So of course that ploughs into the money pit of life. So I've sold my bike to free up some cash, but I will be getting a bike back in the future and probably look at something like a Ducati Monster or something down that
Brilliant
line
bike.
in a couple of years. So we'll see. But yeah, I did a lot of track days. GSXR 750 was my go-to. I tricked it out. It was lovely.
Lovely. If you can, before we get into installing it, can you just explain to what people that are watching what a comms unit is and why people would want one?
Yeah, so communication systems are pretty simple in the whole. They allow you to connect your mobile phone, so it's much like having what you do have in cars these days, of sort of inbuilt stuff that you can connect your phone to. You can answer phone calls, listen to music, and the main thing, obviously, what people buy it for is to listen to their sat nav if they've got one built, or talk to other people. So there are lots of benefits through there, and it's just a matter of using it to your benefits. There's lots of different units out there that have different features and at different price points that you need and would obviously benefit you depending on what helmet you've got and what you're doing. If you're talking to lots of people, you might go for a unit that has a longer distance. If you're just doing it for a rider and then also a pillion, you might then obviously choose a lower end unit with obviously a bit closer distance ranging and obviously the features that you need. So that's what it basically does.
Okay, brilliant. So without further ado, could you start chucking some intercoms and some lids?
Of course I can.
Brilliant, let's go.
I'll start with a race spec helmet just because you have a lot of people who do buy track helmets and also want to fit comms to them. This one in particular doesn't have any cavities or spaces for speakers to go in. However, they can still be fitted and it is just trial and error on the speakers for where your ears are sat on where they go. So when you do fit them, it might be you try it on, find out where it's pushing, make a mark, take it off, move it up and down where you need to and then put it back in again. So we'll start with that just to show you what we can do and what we don't. And we'll go from there. I'll fit a pack torque edge in there. This is obviously a duo pack. You can get singles. I've run out of singles currently, so I'll just take it out of a duo pack to show you. So, instructions are in here as always, but bear in mind that they are very, very useful and please do use them when you are looking to how to sort of pair things up, set things up as well. We are happy to help, obviously, when we do fit stuff up. And we do, if we know it, then we can tell you, but we do, much like everybody else, do look at the instructions to see if we can help you first. So it's always worth checking the instructions first. If it's still not going to plan, give us a shout and we can help. So, in your pack, it's packed nicely. You've got charging cable, the cradle itself, speakers, microphone, boom mic, adhesive mount, clamp mount on the back there, and you've also got the wired mic in that pack as well, and then of course Velcro pads, etc. to fit up. So generally speaking, I usually fit with the speakers and the microphone. The microphones I usually fit the boom mic more than I do the wired mic. Generally speaking, wired mics, because they're thinner, they're a bit more brittle over time. They can break over time. You know, after your warranty's gone, you know, finding one of them spare is a bit harder than finding one of these. And because these have dual sensors front and back, it works better with wind noise and adjusting the volume automatically through the settings and the apps as well. So it is usually a better microphone overall if you want to get a better clarity for your voice and obviously talking to other people. So, with the helmet itself, the cheek pads are all usually on poppers. They're all obviously washable as well. So don't be afraid to get in there and work out how to take it off. They're nice and simple. Some will have sliding poppers, others will be just popping in and out. It's perfectly fine. So They come out like so. Headliner, do not worry about taking your headliner out on the majority of them. There will be a couple that you do, but generally speaking, you do not take the headliner out completely to start with that. I usually fit the speakers first, so you can get at where they are. Your shorter wire side will go on the right-hand side as you look at the helmet from underneath on this side here, and then the other wire will trail round. In the instructions, it tells you to feed the wire up through the headliner and then down the other side. You can do that, it's not a problem. Sometimes people might feel it and it's not so comfortable. I found a different way, which is going around the back of the other helmet, which is a lot easier in the short run, and it makes it a bit neater overall. On the side, you've got, obviously depending on how the helmet is and how it's shaped, you have the choice of either a clamp or an adhesive mount. Most of the time with a lot of helmets now, the lip at the bottom can be sometimes too thick to allow a clamp. So what you'll find is that you can either use the adhesive mount to stick it on, or obviously the clamp can go in there. But then just find the place that's most concurrent for you. On here, depending on the shape of the helmet, you can choose to either follow a graphic. If the Nolan's at a line, for instance, you might want to go a bit of styling and follow the line there so the unit follows through, or you can go a bit straight if you want to. Generally speaking, it's nice to follow a graphic through. So, get these out. If your helmet is, of course, used prior to fitting a comms unit, it's always worth using the alcohol pads. Clean it up, let it dry in the air, and then you can start your process of sticking on the adhesive pads if needs to. Circular speaker ones, and then you've got the other ones which are for the boom mic or the wired mic as well, which are more rectangular. Generally speaking, your ears will sit quite close to this piece here when you put a helmet on, so it's worth just starting centrally, which is around here, and then you'll move up and down if necessary. Okay. I should have probably unpacked this a bit more while we did it, but it's nice to see it in real time, really. So, as I said, longer wire goes to the alternative side because your comms will always go on the left-hand side of the helmet as you wear it. That's because when you're on the bike, your clutch hand is going to be more free than your throttle hand, so it's easy to adjust and do things that you need to do if you do need to touch the unit in any way. Face the wires down so then that you can tuck them away if needs be. So as I said through here, sometimes you might need to remove the liner at the back just to get the space. That stays there. And if you've got a soft tool that is soft and not sharp in any way, obviously Shoei obviously have a nice tool that comes with their helmets that we do use frequently with other people, then it's worth being able to tuck away through here, as you'll see behind the lining, so it keeps it nice and tidy out the way. So when everything's back into place, you won't notice the wires at all when it's sat there. Just pop them back in there, like so. You'll find you'll have spare pieces of wire at the end, and I'll show you how I've done that as a little tip to make sure it's not as messy and it doesn't obviously infringe on the feeling when you put the cheek pads back in, etc. as well, which is not a problem. Over the course of doing this for a fair few years, in terms of sort of difficulty with helmets, open faces will be a bit trickier than others because they've got less space to put wiring and everything else when you put them in there, which we'll show you a bit later. So as I said here, it's probably going to go here, and bear in mind that they are quite flexible with these through here. They do flex quite a bit, so don't be afraid to obviously think that you're going to go off camber or that the line of the shape of the helmet might not take it. Just don't be afraid to give it a good old push on there, and if you want to keep something in place then you're more than welcome to. So that's going to go on there like so. Just going to lift that up there to give it a bit of a push through here, just so it sticks down. Don't be afraid to push the helmet anyway. They're designed to be flexible a bit, and obviously they're not going to break with your pressure because they're designed to keep you safe. Unit on. So that'll free up there, and what I'll do here in a second is I'll show you how we tidy that up in a second. You can choose to do the wired mic, as I said, but obviously I find that the boom mic works slightly better, and the way that you can tidy these up is that every helmet, of course, has its earpieces here that come down with the straps. I will usually tuck this in here There usually has space for it, so don't be afraid. And then this will tuck here as well, which will create space in here. So when you turn it, obviously in the right way, it's sat there. And then as you come over, when the cheek pad's back on and you put your helmet on and it comes down, you can see that the strap covers over the boom mic, so you've got more protection there, so it's less feeling for you when you're pushing against there. All right, so that'll work there for you. So you just stick that into place. You can cut these as well if you want to. I usually keep them intact, unless the helmet piece is quite small to put them. But generally speaking, it's quite good. You've got the alternative piece here, which can sometimes go into place on here if you'd like to get a bit more rigidity through the top here, and you're then just moving one piece. But with the cheek pad as it goes in, it creates the rigidity there, so then you are just moving one piece rather than the whole thing. Okay, so to tidy this up, it's nice and simple. That will cross over itself, but don't worry too much about that for now. In the past, I used to use electrical tape, but of course, if you have it for years and then you come back in and we buy new comms, etc., to remove that electrical tape, it gets all sticky and horrible, and you've got a horrible comms unit. So elastic bands is what I use now. That tidies up the wires a bit more. You're not worrying about kinking them over time because they are flexible. And then just wrap that round a couple of times. Make sure there's enough tension through the bottom there as it slides on. And don't obviously build in the way of the connections, so it's just sat in place just here away from there, but it tidies up the wire there for you. This will tuck in down the bottom here in a minute when we're done, which is not a problem. Okay, that'll tuck in there like so. Cheek pads will go back in. So down here, obviously with this one in particular, is a popper piece there that slides in. That one goes down the bottom there. It's just about getting the order right, and then ultimately bottom one goes in there, and this one then also pops into place there, and the one at the top there is just a sliding point, so bend it round and push it in. You don't have a chance to break it. Leave them loose for a second because we'll tidy that up in a minute when we've got the cheek pad fitted. Back in again. Bottom goes in. Obviously some have more poppers than other helmets, so it just depends how many you've got. Obviously just pop them back in. Some may come unpopped as you do it, so just persevere and move stuff around if you need to make it work. And again, that slides in the bottom there. The wires will tuck away, and we'll tie it up on the other side in a second, just so it makes it taut in there for you. Ultimately, you want to make it nice and neat and tidy. All done. And the unit itself, wherever I put them now. Done. X804RS has a comms fitted, and then obviously when you put it on, you'll see where the speakers are, and you can adjust as and when you need to if you're feeling like you've got pressure in the wrong areas. That's one helmet done. So now we're going to fit to a modular helmet. This is a Shark. I've chosen this one because of the neck collar. With some Shark's helmets, they did a neck collar, and what you'll find is that people will try and fit comms or remove their cheek pads and headliners, etc. And this collar is the bane of everyone's life in trying to take it out and put it back in. With fitting comms, you can take it out. It takes a bit more time to put it back in, but there's a quick way to do it if you're confident in doing so, which is just leaning it forward, tucking what you need to inside, and then just literally feeding it back in again. It will just hug itself back in because these are on tension through the top and bottom here, which makes it harder to push it back in. So let's get started. So I usually put that back, but I don't put it all the way back because it goes all the way back underneath the helmet, so it's worth just sliding it to one point. Obviously it was worth having a helmet halo ring. Oxford products do them if you'd like one. Not this specific one, but they do ones with beam filled. Same packaging. This is a Spirit HD from Cardo. This is their One of their entry range models. So this goes a 600 meter range, FM radio waterproofing. So this is good for rider and pillion, but also has high definition speakers at 40 mils, which is also quite a nice feature to have as you step through. Good for rider and pillions. And good for yourself as well if you just wanted to connect up your phone, listen to music and hear your sat nav or your phone directions if you're using it that way. Same features, you get a unit and all the pieces that you need, including the cradle and also the adhesive pad, etc. through the bottom here as well. On this one specifically will probably fit the clamp because it has the facility to allow it. Bear in mind that the clamp is slightly thicker at the bottom, so you might find it's not as nice compared to the adhesive mount sometimes. Don't be afraid to get a bit forceful with it sometimes, but that'll sit in place there, and your big thing is just making sure it doesn't interfere with the mechanism as it comes backwards and forwards, and that's the same with most modular helmets. Just make sure nothing interferes if it's got things that slide around. You can move it forward and backwards if you need to make sure that it's right. These units here will follow in from the back and push in and clip in front into the front. Always here for the click on these. Do not try and cheat and do this in place, because we've had people come back in with no units on their helmets, and it's because they decided to try and slide it into place with cheating with this, and it ends up just flying off down the road. So always hear that click. These units are designed to click onto place, and it's a rarity that these things break. So there we go. Nice bit of tip there. As I said, with the neck roll, just slide it out and you'll see that there's a space there to allow that through. So slide that through there and feed it all the way through, making sure that you have the space that's required through there. That can slide into there when it's done. As you can see, it's already nicely in place. Cheek pads are on Velcro, so slide them out. You can leave them either on the helmet, or take them off completely. It's up to you. I'll take them off completely just to make it a bit clearer when we are fitting, so you can see what we've got going on. Okay. This helmet, of course, has got earpieces, cavities to allow the speakers in there, so we'll just fit them into that space there. These come with already Velcro strips on there, so you shouldn't need to use the ones that come in the package, which makes them a spare. So if you do change them later, you can then use those for a different helmet if needs be. Again, as I said before, the longer wire will go to the alternative side on there, so don't be afraid with that. Sometimes with the space of these cavities, they're slightly smaller than the speakers. Don't worry too much about that. There is ways around there to make it a bit better. Just a tiny bit of pressure there and it does stick into place. And then when you do try it on, just make sure that it is comfortable for you when you do so. So that slides back there again. With this one in particular, I will go underneath the liner, because as the liner comes down, it hugs into the helmet. So rather than removing this and taking it apart, it's quicker for me to go through the other side to reach the speaker to the other side to get it tidy. So the wire will come through there like so, he says. Don't you love straps? Making it easy and I'm fluffing it up. Okay. And that'll slide there on there as well. The wire will tuck down the bottom. You can't see it in here, but as an example, if I can remove the liner, I will, just to show you. But it will just tuck down the bottom right down at the back there for the wire to hide it away for you. And then does it infringe on your head or make it uncomfortable for you when you put it on. Okay. Everything already filtering through here and fitted through here. You can just connect those up perfectly fine. And this time I won't put an elastic band on these ones. You can if you want to, but you have the ability just to tuck that down right at the bottom. Again, underneath here. So if I grab this up in a second, I'll show you where they'll all sit. It's a nice hugging way out the way. So underneath here, underneath there is where your wires are going to go, down into this piece here. So it just hugs into that space there for you, so that when you do tidy up, it's all out the way, and it doesn't mean that you're getting anything in the way for yourselves when you are trying it. Okay. Okay. Back in. Right. Again, with the modular helmet you'll need a boom mic, because the wire mic can't be attached to the front chin bar because it is moving up and down when you need to, so it doesn't have enough length to do that. So you'll put your boom mic on. See, with these they're double pinned, so just make sure that when you are attaching them the pin doesn't get in the way or it doesn't get caught, otherwise you'll end up with a faulty microphone because one of the pins does break. Choices, you can put it down here if you'd like to, but it is a bit tight on this one, so I personally would just slide it down the side here behind everything else, and you have the facility then to do the same thing, which is down the side here. Now bear in mind that because the cheek pads have got Velcro on them, you might move a bit further back to allow the space for the cheek pads to slide back up, which then moves it into this position here a bit lower down, so don't be afraid to do that. You may find a better position for yourself, but that's where usually I slide it, so it doesn't interfere too much with the cheek pads. So I'll slide it on there for us. And remember, the boom mic's obviously an incredibly movable object, so you can twist and toss it into different positions for you to make it a benefit to yourself. So we'll slide it into that position there, and I'll show you where we can move it around a bit more than anticipated. Again, this feeds back into having that liner that comes over the top here, so the neck roll, as it comes down, it's not in the way. That'll slide up there, like so. Okay. Cheek pads go back in. Make sure you get the right side on each. Like so. That will stay over the top there. If you want to use this in any way to hold it down moving forward, you're more than welcome to. That can usually sometimes just slide into here if you feel like it's necessary. But it does interfere with your cheek pads and obviously gets in the way as well. So it's just using a bit of noggin and a bit of imagination to see how you want that fit. That does sit there if you need it to. Alright, so that's how you'd fit one of those up. So that modular helmet. How to fit a Interphone 8R to a Exo City 2 from Scorpion, aka sort of an open face helmet, so something that we obviously deal with quite a lot, so sometimes it can be quite difficult to find the space for them, so it's just making sure that we can get it in the right places and make sure we can tuck those wires away so that it obviously fits in nice and integrated. So I've already fitted the clamp piece because it has the space to do so down here, so that slides into the back here to slide it on. You'll find that with the Interphone units, the plug-in pieces are on the unit themselves, not with a cradle like what you would find with something like Senna or Cardo. So you'll find that actually it's on the unit itself, so that will slide into place there. So we have that on first, so we can then plug it all in at the end. Okay, so cheek pads again are on poppers, so they can easily pop out and out the way. So we'll just slide them. And these were sided, so you can see which side they go on. Usually just put one on each side, so it makes it easier for you. It's worth putting in the Velcro pieces if needs be to allow the speakers, which will just slide on now. Again, these usually have a bit of cavity space in there, so it's worth just putting it into the spaces there so then it doesn't rub in your ears when you've got the helmet on. So, boom mic's there, doesn't come with the cover on, so it's worth just putting that on there in a package in the box. So just grab one of them out and sorted. You'll see that on there, if you can get close enough, There's an arrow on which side on the boom mic, which is obviously which way the microphone needs to face your mouth. To obviously get the best clarity on your voice when you're doing the old intercom. So, speakers will go in, like so. See there's spaces here as well as you put through, and generally speaking you can put them on this or slide them in here if you'd like to. I just find it easier sometimes just to slide it in place behind and pop the cheek pads back in. You'll find that the speakers are behind there nice and easy. Okay, we'll tuck this wire away. It's pretty simple. Again, get a soft tool. See, we obviously do a lot with different brands, so we've got a shoey tool there that does the job for you, but something that's soft, allows you to poke stuff out the way, is quite useful. You find there's a lot of space behind here. In the instructions for pretty much everyone, you can obviously put the wire up above if you feel that you don't want to do this instead, so you can tuck it up above inside of the headliner up here and go over the top, but you don't necessarily need to. You can just slide it down underneath. You should just tuck this in so down the back. Okay, just untangle that wire quickly. That can plug in then to the helmet there, like so. That locks into place down there, so there's a locking piece just at the bottom here that pushes into place here rather than being open, and then that allows you to take it on and off. It needs to be to help with charging, etc. if you want to take it off your helmet, so that's not a problem. With it being an open face, you'll have a boom mic rather than the wired mic. You can, if you feel like you want to attach the wired mic somewhere, but it just won't pick up the sound. You can't stick it on anyway because there's no chin bar for it to fit on. So this is where it sort of gets a bit tricky sometimes of finding where would this most benefit and be out the way as much as possible. And again, like anything, it's just being creative with what you've got going on. So what we found is that in the past we've sort of gone down here and then out for the side here. That's not required, and you'll find out that actually when you've got the helmet on, your mouth can stick up here, and you can then move this around where you need to, and that usually doesn't get in the way of the chin bars either, which will go under the top there. Slide it up here instead, which gives it a bit more space at the top. It's a preference if you prefer. That way then you'd have it up there as well. Personal preference, how you want to see fit. So we'll just slide this into place, so we've got that there. And it'll just be a matter of tucking away the wires and neatening them up, just so they don't get in the way, so it can be as tidy as possible. You'll find that with open faces it can be quite difficult to tidy up the wires, so it's just making sure that you can do as best as you possibly can to make sure that they're not facing the elements as much as possible, but also making sure they're not interfering with you and you're riding them, and obviously you've got the helmet on to make sure that they are comfortable and not in the way. Which find there's obviously a lot of wires here. You have the ability to tuck that back down there again. So nearly at the end. Just tuck those last couple of bits away. And then what's always worth doing is just making sure when you have got it on, just to make sure that the microphone's sat in the right place with these. It's the same with any helmet that you do, just to make sure that the microphone comes across. As you can see, it's sat in place and nothing's interfering. So it's just worth doing that. And that is as simply as that. An Interphone 8R onto an open face helmet. So I'm going to show you how to fit a Senna 20S Evo to what will be a full face, but this is a Shark Spartan RS. So that moves to one side. We've already got the bits out that we need, which are right here. Cheek pads will come out. You don't necessarily need to remove the chin guard, but you can if you want to give yourself more space, but you don't necessarily have to. Let's just undo that quickly. Get that out of the way. That'll slide out like so. Same with the other side. It's velcroed and poppered, don't be afraid, just follow it round so you can get the poppers out. Then slide it from the bottom. And slide out the chin straps for you there. You'll see in here you've got ear cavities, so that will slide in there perfectly fine. It fits them near enough perfectly, which is fantastic news on that basis there. We've got some cheek pads. These are going to slide in there. Start the other side. Nice, simple like so. Because of the lip on here, we can use the clamp. So we're just going to slide it on there, just so it slides into place. This one's then secured down with the Allen key, so just have yourself, which I think is a size 2 Allen key. Usually it will come in the box for you so you can adjust it yourself. So this one usually included. I've got one with a handle, of course, so do a lot more frequently. So let's tighten that down there. You've got a choice of microphones. This one I'm just using for the basis of today, just to slide in there because it can. There is 2 other types. You've got one which is a boom but also on a wire, which you just adjust these out and it can slide into place up here. You've also got a wired one which also can be used for the full faces there. I usually use a boom mic because it's got dual sensors front and back, and the benefit of that is because it picks up sound a lot better and it adjusts its volume a lot easier regarding when you're out and about and riding. Okay. So, that'll slide into place there. Speaker goes in there. He says that. Slide it underneath. Like so. This wire can tuck down at the back because it's designed to do so. This piece does come out, but sometimes it's just easier to fiddle around to do so. But if you want to see underneath it, underneath there is this piece here. Tuck the wire down there, like so, out the way. Again, in the past we've got tools that we can use. Find something a bit soft and not abrasive against it and doesn't obviously create any kinks and cuts through the wire. So don't use flathead screwdrivers or anything to try and do this because you'll end up just breaking the wire. That'll slide back into place like so, pretty simply. There it goes. And that's nice and tidy out the way. That piece goes down there, and again it will then just feed into the bottom and the back there, out the way, like so. So finally that's obviously in there, and what we'll do is we'll just slide the cheek pads back in. Like so. With these I usually do the back first so it slides into place here. As you can see, that's now sliding into place. And then you just slide that underneath there, and as it pushes back, it should just slide into place and connect up. That will naturally then, of course, link up to the poppers and everything else that it needs to do, which is just inside there. Pop them into place. And then we'll do the other side, which is a tiny bit more difficult because you've got, of course, the microphone and everything else. So, do the same thing again. See, a few wires have been put in here, so just do your best to adjust out the way of them. Again, slide it in there, around the wires, like so. You'll see it's all connected there. Don't worry about it. As long as you've got enough wire so it's not taut, so it's not creating any kinks or anything else, then you'll be sliding in perfectly fine. That slides into place like so. Feed that back through there again. And again, just pop into place, and away you go. Sorted. That can slide into place up there, and you've got your microphone ready to go there if you'd like to. As I say, you've got two other microphones that you can put on there. And it's personal preference. If you do take these out, then other wires will feed into there. But any questions, then you can always call one of the Infinity stores and find out. But that is a Sena 20S Evo fitted into a full-face Shark Spartan RS. Thanks very much.